What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another game day update. Joining me today from Phoenix, from the coolest setup that we've ever seen on one of these game day updates, is Saul Bookman. He's the GM of the PHNX podcast. Welcome, sir. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
I am so good. I am excited and kind of like weary tonight playing the Phoenix Suns. I'm going to go right into it. Just off the bat, I feel like the biggest news is that both teams have a bunch of guys in protocols right now. The Grizzlies are out 5 guys. And 2 of those are including Dillon Brooks and DeAnthony Melton. Dillon Brooks, obviously a huge kind of like bummer that we don't have him against you guys to like annoy Devin Booker the entire game. And then for you guys, number 1, your coach, like
Monty's out today.
And then Jay Crowder, who not only plays a huge part on Phoenix Suns, but also the Grizzlies have a relationship with him. A lot of the younger guys, that was like their first veteran a few years ago. So how does that change the game? What the heck?
Yeah, I mean, geez, we'll find out tonight, right? I mean, Monty probably is the bigger one, just because, you know, you like to have that stability at all times. And when your coach is gone, sometimes things can get a little wonky. But, you know, Jay Crowder being out, that's going to hurt to a degree. But, you know, the Suns have Cam Johnson, who has played very well of late. So he'll be able to step up into the starting lineup, and I'm sure they won't miss a beat. Now, the difference will be when they go to the bench, how will they fare? Because now that not only they're going to be missing Cam Johnson from the bench because of the Jay Crowder miss, but also Elfrid Payton won't be available at the guard position because he's also out in protocol. So it's going to be a different type of thing. But you know what? All these teams are having to adjust. The Suns had avoided it for the most part, surprisingly, and now they have to face what the rest of the league is dealing with.
Yeah, I think let's talk about the people who are actually on the court tonight. I think if I'm the Phoenix Suns, I look to attack on the pick and roll, unfortunately. And that's what they have done in the games previously, is that they look at like an Ayton, Chris Paul, attack Ja Morant and Steven Adams. If you are, I want to flip a switch on you. If you're coming from the Grizzlies side, how do you defend that? Especially now without Dillon Brooks.
Well, that's going to be really, really tough. You know, if you're coming from the Grizzlies side of things, you're going to have to attack DeAndre Ayton with Steven Adams down low on the block as much as possible. Now, the difference between Steven Adams and DeAndre Ayton from 3 years ago to now is significant, because DeAndre Ayton is now one of the better centers in the league playing defense. You're gonna probably lose either way if you're having to guard. If you're going to give Chris Paul the mid-range jumper, which is one of the best middies in the game, you know, if you're going to try to take that away, then you got to deal with DeAndre Ayton down low, who's also been prone to have big games and score down low pretty easily. So if I had to pick or choose one of the two, I'd probably take my chances with DA down low, just because Chris Paul is just so dynamic. Not only can he pull up for that midi, but he's going to find open guys. And, you know, that could lead to a lot of open 3-point shots. So that's probably how I would defend the two.
This is also kind of a tale of 2 types of different teams. And when we talk about Chris Paul, he's an MVP candidate because he's so good at running plays and picking defenses apart, where the Grizzlies, they like to play in transition a lot right now. They're number 1 in the league in fast break points, where I feel like they could maybe take advantage of the Suns that are closer, I think either like mid NBA or like towards the bottom in fast break points, but they still play with a high pace. So if I'm the Grizzlies, I'm like, this is the second night of a back-to-back where the starters had to play probably like 5-10 minutes more than you would have liked in the first night of a back-to-back, because they're down some bodies. And they played well. Like they had a season high in assists. They had 72 points in the paint. They were wheeling and dealing last night against the Kings, but then they're coming up against this team who not only plays at a high pace, which they like to play at, but they also are so good at picking teams apart.
Yeah, you know, that's funny that you say that, because on the heels of what the Suns just played against the Warriors, their transition defense was not up to par in that game. You know, they got exposed a little bit. The Golden State Warriors were absolutely running as fast as they could to get open shots and get ball movement going at a quicker pace. Something that the Suns basically haven't really seen too much of this year. So then you're talking about the Grizzlies with Ja Morant coming into town, and they are almost a very similar style. They want to push the ball. The Suns, hopefully they'll learn from they'll learn their lessons from Saturday night. They'll come in tonight with a little bit more renewed focus. Also, you know, I'm not gonna throw Jay Crowder under the bus because I love Jay Crowder, but he's a little older. He's a little older, so he's a little slower
Okay,
to get up the
relax.
court.
I think he's still younger than me. So
So now you're bringing in Cam Johnson to run up and down with that starting unit. Maybe that'll fare a little bit better on the transition D side of things, but we'll see.
all right, here's my last question for you. The Grizzlies have been rolling when it comes to offensive rebounds and second chance points. They set a franchise record just yesterday with second chance points. A lot of that has to do with Steven Adams, but it also has to do with the guys on the bench who are coming in, like Tillman, John Conchar, who was started last night, but those guys are just like wheeling and dealing. I always say that, but they're doing so well in those second chance points opportunities. Who is kind of like that guy on the Suns right now that's going to have a big part in boxing out? It sounds so simple when I'm like, who has to box out?
Well, luckily for us, we have the best center tandem in the league with JaVale McGee and DeAndre Ayton. So the boards side of things feel good coming off the bench with JaVale. He's able to get rebounds at a very high clip. One of the best rebounders in the game. So not so much of a concern, but every team is prone to second chance points when they're facing the Grizzlies. So you got to make sure that fundamentally you're sound all the way across the board, because it's not just it's not just the bigs that are getting the second chance rebounds. It's Ja Morant's a fairly good rebounder from the guard position, and Dylan Brooks was as well, but he's not playing tonight. But so across the board, everybody's got to make sure that they box out, find their man, and then attack the defensive side of the glass, because you don't want to give Memphis more opportunities than they should get, especially when you have the size advantage you would think on the Suns.
Yeah, who guards Jaren?
That's a good question. I normally I think I would have said Jay, but I think tonight you'll see DA probably guard Jaren a little bit more. DA's he has the ability to guard on the perimeter. I think a lot of people sleep on that. He's defended LeBron on the perimeter before and done so fairly successfully. So I think Jaren would be a good matchup with DA. Plus, there's always that draft class, kind of, everybody likes to harken back to that. And there's a little, I don't know if it's a rivalry. I don't think it's been much of a rivalry, but I think those two guys know each other and they want to play against each other. So it'll be fun to watch.
All right. So DeAndre Ayton, Jaren Jackson Jr. or Ja and Chris Paul, if you had to pick one matchup that you're most excited for tonight.
Oh, come on now.
It's
Ja.
that.
Of course, it's always Ja and Chris. I mean, it's the young versus the old, the schooled vet against the young up and coming stud. That's gonna be a fun game. And plus, I mean, I love to watch Ja Morant anyway. He's just an exciting player to watch. And then Chris Paul, our fellow colleague Gerald always says that Chris Paul does 1 to 2 things a night that just make you laugh. It's either a facial expression or some quirky little move, or he does something that's just so outlandish that you're just like, why, Chris? Why? And it keeps you into these games, because even when they're blowing a team out, you're just like, where's that next thing coming from Chris Paul? So it's fun to watch.
It's so funny you say that, because I think we always talk about there's like 1 or 2 things that Ja does every game that we're like, how are you a human being? Like, how are you able to do that? So we'll have a few moments tonight. Saul, thank you so very much. I appreciate your time. And okay, the game tips off at 8:00 if you're watching from Memphis. That means if you're watching from Phoenix, it is 7
o'clock. Okay. 7 o'clock. Yep.
My time zone's a little messed up. You can watch on Valley Sports Southeast. Saul, again, thank you so much.
Kelcey, thank you so much for having me.